I'm excited to get started with today's webinar, how to prepare a presentation. Sometimes you can put in so much effort into the research for a project that you kind of blank on how to bring it all together. It's natural, it's fine, and it happens to the best of us. In today's webinar, we're going to be talking about how you may want to structure your presentation, keep it engaging for your audience, whether that's your fellow classmates or your teachers, how to navigate group dynamics and remain confident as you present. I'm very excited to be joined by today's presenters, Ariel Falan, Henry Price, and Jessica Rothizer, as they walk you through how to prepare a presentation. So without further ado, I'll pass it on over to them.
Welcome everyone to the Student Success Series, How to Prepare a Presentation. I'm Ariel and I'm excited to guide you through today's session. If you've ever felt anxious about where to start when preparing a presentation, you are not alone. Today we'll walk through the steps to structure a presentation, engage your audience, divide up group work, and present confidently. Whether you're working solo or as part of a team, we've got tips to help you succeed.
We'll also discuss how to approach presentations when working in a group. We know that collaborating can be challenging, but with the right tools and strategies, you'll be able to work smoothly with your team to create a cohesive, effective presentation.
And we'll be sharing some tips to boost your confidence and reduce anxiety at every step of the process. We all get nervous, but with the right preparation and mindset, you'll be ready to take the stage with ease.
We're going to be covering the 4 steps to effectively prepare a presentation. First is understanding the assignment, which leads to how you can break down the project and make a plan. Then we'll get into specifics on building your presentation, and we'll wrap up with the last step of rehearsing, implementing feedback, and giving your presentation a final polish. Now, before we jump into all that, I'm going to pass it over to Henry to share some of his experiences in gaining confidence in public speaking.
Yeah, throughout all the sections today, we're going to spend some time looking about how to build your confidence when you're getting ready for a big presentation. But confidence is a tricky thing, so we'll unpack that a bit as we go today. You ever hear the actor's nightmare? It goes a little something like this. You show up at a theater, you find out you're in a show you didn't know about, and it's today, and you haven't been to any of the rehearsals, but you're expected to perform your role. No one will help you. You're like most people, you've had some form of this nightmare. Maybe in your version, you had to play in a big game you didn't practice for, or give a presentation in class you didn't know about. Most of us probably haven't had those exact experiences in real life, so why do we all seem to have a version of this dream? Well, as you probably guessed, it's probably not literally about you being an actor or an athlete or even having a presentation. It's probably just a stand in for something you're nervous about or a general lack of control over your life. And look, we're not going to try to cure any of that in this webinar, but what we can do is give you tips on how to reduce your anxiety about that upcoming performance or game or, yeah, presentation. Stay tuned for that throughout. In the meantime, Jess, how does all of this work if you're giving a group presentation?
Great question, Henry. Many students dread group presentations because they worry about uneven workloads when one person ends up doing most of the work while others fall short, like Jordan Peele here. There's also anxiety around clashing schedules, differing communication styles, or not knowing who's actually going to show up prepared. Add in the pressure of presenting in front of an audience, and it's easy to see why group presentations can feel more stressful than supportive. So we're going to give some tips throughout for effectively dividing up work in a group presentation and ways to make sure that everyone is aligned on goals, deadlines, and desired outcomes.
Before you even begin putting the slides together or building your presentation, it's essential to first understand the assignment. Think of this step as laying the foundation. You can't build a strong presentation without it.
So let's break down what you need to actually clarify. First, the topic. Start by identifying the subject you're expected to cover. Is it open-ended, or are there specific questions that you need to address? You'll also need to consider the length. How long is your presentation supposed to be? This will help you gauge how much content you'll need to include and how detailed you should be. What are the required deliverables? Are you just submitting a slide deck, or do you need a script, a handout, or video recording too? Make sure you know exactly what's expected of you. And know how you're going to be graded. Check if there's a grading rubric. This is going to be your roadmap to success. It tells you exactly what your instructor is looking for. And then the individual grading components as well. Understand how the assignment will be evaluated section by section. Certain sections weighted more heavily. Are creativity and visuals part of the grade? Or, how are you graded as individuals if you're working in a group? Taking time to understand all of these components will ensure that you're not only prepared, but also strategic in how you plan and deliver your presentation.
Once you've got the basics down, it's time to start organizing your content. One helpful tool to structure your presentation is the SOAPstone acronym. S is for subject. What exactly are you presenting about? This is your core topic. O is for occasion. What's the event or reason for your presentation? Knowing this helps you tailor your approach. A is for audience. Who are you speaking to? This will influence the language, tone, and depth of your content. P is for purpose. What do you want your audience to think, feel, or do after your presentation? Keep your end goal in mind. S is for speaker. Who is presenting? What strengths or unique insights does the presenter bring to the topic? TON is for tone. What feeling or attitude do you want to communicate? This could be formal, casual, persuasive, or informative, depending on the context. E is for evidence. What facts, examples, or proof will support your message? This is what makes your presentation credible.
When working on a group presentation, SOAPstone can help to clarify roles, audience purpose, tone, and structure so that each speaker's part fits into a clear and cohesive message. It ensures consistency and alignment across the team for a smoother, more effective delivery.
We'll be referring back to SOAPstone throughout today's session, so keep it in mind as we move forward. It's a great tool to keep your presentation organized and effective.
Once you've locked in your topic, the next step in preparing a strong presentation is to brainstorm and research. So let's start with brainstorming. This is where you get all your ideas down on paper, no matter how messy they seem. You want to jot everything down that you already know, any questions you have, and ideas that might be interesting to explore. Think of it as dumping everything out of your brain before you start organizing it.
For effective group brainstorming, start by aligning on your main message or goal, and then collaboratively generate ideas for content, visuals, and structure. Encourage open dialogue, capture all contributions, and look for ways to combine or expand ideas to create an engaging presentation. On the screen here, you'll see an example of a real brainstorming session from a past project that our team worked on. And don't worry about reading all this. It's just to show how messy and creative the process can be at the start.
Then comes the research phase. This is where you fill in any gaps. Look for key facts, examples, or stories that will help explain your topic and make it more engaging. The goal here is to gather content that will make your presentation clear and credible. So here's what it might look like once you organize that brainstorm into a full outline. Take note, it's not perfect. Some sections will be cut, some ideas will be moved around, and you'll definitely refine things as you go. But having that full list to begin with and turning it into a rough outline makes the rest of the process, which includes writing, designing slides, and practicing, a whole lot easier and less overwhelming.
All right, now that we've laid the foundation, the next step is to break down your project and create a solid plan. Planning is crucial because it helps you stay organized and ensures you don't miss any important steps. Whether you're working solo or in a group, a good plan will guide you through the entire process and keep things on track.
Once you've broken your presentation or your project into parts, it's time to schedule your work using deadlines and milestones. A clear timeline keeps everything on track and makes sure that you hit the due date without last-minute stress. To do this, start by working backwards from your final deadline or the day of your presentation. Then map out key milestones like when research should be completed, when slides and visuals should be finalized, when scripts need to be done, and when rehearsals will happen, especially if you're working in a group. To manage your time and keep everybody on the same page, take advantage of digital tools like Google Calendar, which is great for setting individual or shared reminders and blocking out work time. You can even color code tasks or set notifications to keep deadlines at the top of your mind. Or you could try something like Trello or other project boards like Asana, which let you visually track progress by creating cards for each task. And with these, you can assign team members, set due dates, and move tasks through stages like to do and in progress or done. These tools help you stay organized, communicate as a team, and avoid surprises. Plus, they're super helpful when collaborating remotely or juggling busy schedules. With this, the overall goal is simple. Just give yourself enough structure to stay focused, but also enough flexibility to adapt if things change.
Now that we've discussed how to understand the assignment and plan your work, let's focus on key elements that make up an effective presentation. Each of these tasks involves specific skills, and knowing where you excel and where you need improvement will help you strengthen your presentation. First up, research. This is your foundation. Great presentations are built on solid, reliable information. You'll need to use your analytical thinking to evaluate sources, as well as strong reading skills to absorb and understand content quickly. Next is slide design. Your slides should support your message, not distract from it. This task involves visual thinking and a strong attention to detail, so you can create slides that guide your audience through the content in a clear and engaging way.
Moving on to scripting. Whether you're writing out a full script or just bullet points, good communication skills are essential. This is where your ideas take shape, and you'll need to organize your thoughts clearly so your message comes across effectively. And last but not least, audience engagement. Speaking confidently, telling a compelling story, and keeping your audience involved throughout the presentation will help you maintain a connection with that audience.
And when you're preparing a presentation as a group, you can assign leadership roles to each of these elements based on the group's individual strengths. One person might lead the charge on research, while another steers the slide design or guides the scripting. Make time to collaborate early, check in often, and rehearse together. That way your final product feels cohesive and not like a collection of separate pieces. Strong communication, shared responsibility, and mutual respect are going to be key to delivering a polished group presentation.
Once you understand the assignment and know what tasks you need to focus on, the next step is to structure your presentation. Breaking it down into clear, logical sections helps keep your content organized and easy for your audience to follow.
Start with the introduction. This is your chance to set the tone, introduce your topic, and grab the audience's attention. Include a quick overview and clearly state your purpose.
Next, provide some background or context. Before jumping into your main points, give your audience any necessary background information, definitions, or key context that will help them understand your topic better.
Then dive into your main points. Focus on 1 to 3 key arguments or ideas. Use data, examples, and analysis to support each point and make it engaging and informative.
You'll also want to support your content with visuals or media. These should enhance understanding, not distract from it. Make sure they're clean, clear, and purposeful.
Finish strong with a conclusion. Summarize your main points, share your final thoughts, and end with a call to action or a memorable takeaway.
And always be prepared for a Q&A or discussion. This is the place that you'll get feedback or handle any questions. It shows your audience you really know your stuff and boosts your credibility. And if you're working as a group, divide these sections strategically. Assign parts based on individual strengths. For example, the most confident speaker might handle the intro and conclusion, while someone detail-oriented might tackle the visuals. Make sure transitions between speakers are smooth and that everyone is familiar with the whole presentation and not just their part of it. Again, rehearsing together is key to sounding like a unified team instead of separate voices.
Now it's time to tackle your outline. Now I know it's tempting to just dive straight into building your slides, but trust me, creating an outline first is a game changer. Your outline provides structure, allowing you to organize your ideas into sections that flow logically from start to finish. It's essential for organizing your thoughts and giving your presentation that clear structure.
It also helps you arrange your ideas in the right order. By seeing everything laid out, you can move things around and adjust them until they fit together perfectly. This is especially helpful when working in a group because everyone can see how the ideas flow together.
And third, it becomes your reference point. Your outline will act as a checklist, helping you make sure that you've hit all the important points before you even get started on your slides. It's tempting to skip this, especially if you're on a tight timeline, but trust me, putting in the effort now will save you from stress later and make you feel more confident in the long run. Remember the soapstone elements that we went over earlier? When you're outlining your presentation, you'll want to refer back to 3 of those elements specifically. First up is the purpose. Your purpose is all about what you want to achieve with this presentation. It's the reason you're standing there talking to your audience in the first place. Without a clear purpose, you risk losing focus. It's hard to get a message across if you don't even know what you're trying to say. A clear purpose will help you narrow that outline. When deciding whether to include a piece of information in your presentation, ask yourself, does it support a clear goal? Or is it more of a tangent you felt like going on? Because if it doesn't support a defined objective, consider whether it's something you can live without. And do the ideas flow logically? Like, would a listener understand why you brought something up? If not, consider moving the pieces around until they do.
Next, think about your subject. This is the heart of your presentation, the topic you're focusing on. Once you've nailed down your subject, ask yourself, is everything in my outline supporting or expanding on my subject? Am I staying on topic or am I drifting into unrelated ideas? The outline helps keep you laser focused on your core message. If you stray, your audience might get lost too.
And that leads us to our last element, which is the audience itself. Know your audience inside and out. This is where you can anticipate their questions and concerns. Think about what might they be wondering about my topic, or what do they need to know to fully understand what I'm talking about? It's all about making sure your presentation speaks to that specific audience. You want to provide the info that they need and address any confusion before it even happens. By thinking through these soapstone elements in your outline, you're laying the groundwork to communicate your ideas more effectively. All right, so now let's switch gears and talk about actually building your presentation and making sure that everything comes together visually. Slide design needs to strike the balance between too safe and too distracting. To achieve that, you'll want to make design choices that engage the audience and support your message. And if you're not sure where that line is,
go back to the soapstone. Your subject, your audience. The setting and the tone that you want to convey are all important considerations in selecting a slide template. Let the look and feel of your presentation work for you, rather than having to overcome a design that's contrary to that goal.
I took a web design class once, and literally the only textbook we were assigned was called Don't Make Me Think. Whether you're designing a website, writing a paper, or giving a presentation, you want your audience to effortlessly understand what's going on. No one wants to have to do all the work of figuring out what you're trying to say. Overly complicated slide design does just that. Similarly, it's great to be witty and fun with your design, but if they're too busy laughing at some witty meme you included or trying to solve some clever wordplay, they might miss what you're saying.
And when working on a group presentation, this becomes even a little bit more difficult. Slide design can easily get messy if you don't coordinate. So here are some quick tips to make sure that your slides look unified and professional. First, use a template. Decide on your color scheme, fonts, and layout style before anyone starts designing. You can download existing templates from sites like SlidesGo and Slides Carnival, or use templates built right into Google Slides, PowerPoint, or even Canva. Using a template helps keep everything all consistent. You can also assign a lead designer. Have one person oversee the design to keep things aligned. Now, that doesn't mean that they do all of the work, but they would be responsible for making sure the final slides feel like one presentation and not a patchwork. Use a shared folder, so Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox. Make sure that everyone is saving their images, videos, and slide drafts all in one place. This avoids confusion and it will prevent duplicate work. This is a big one. Stick to the rule of one idea per slide. So to keep your slides clean and focused, aim for one main idea per slide. Use bullet points sparingly and support your message with visuals instead of walls of text. A good rule of thumb in slide design is the 5-5-5 rule. And this rule states that you should have no more than 5 words per line of text, no more than 5 lines of text per slide, and no more than 5 text-heavy slides in a row. You can go into further detail on that topic in the script or even create additional slides to accommodate more information. But your presentation will be more palatable to your audience and easier to keep consistent as a group if you all follow this rule. And lastly, of course, review and revise together. Schedule time for the group to look through the slides as a team. This is your chance to spot inconsistencies, fix typos, and make sure that transitions between sections feel smooth. Designing slides as a group takes extra communication, but when done right, your final presentation looks sharp and totally in sync.
Thoughtful scripting can be the difference between a confident, engaging presentation and one that feels forced or hesitant. Remember how the actor's nightmare is mostly about being in a situation where you feel unprepared or out of control? Let's get into how to write a script that can take all the guesswork out of your presentation so that you can eliminate those nightmare-inducing uncertainties.
In terms of mechanics, what does a script look like? Well, since you'll likely want to present using complete sentences, you should script it that way too. Also, notice the click over there. You obviously won't say that out loud, but it's there to let yourself or the person who's running the presentation know at what point in the script to advance the slide or to do the next animation. We recommend separating it as its own line so that there's no missing it.
You want to make your script easy to read. Paragraphs and bullet points are a good way to create visual spacing that you can quickly follow. This is strictly to make your life easier. We obviously can't hear your paragraph breaks or your bullet points, but you want to be able to find your place quickly, and short bursts make that easier than big walls of text. Notice how what I'm saying out loud is similar to what you see on the screen, but not exactly the same. That's on purpose. Just as Jess talked about making the slides simple and visually appealing, it's important to not simply read the text out loud. That's both boring and distracting to the audience. Give quick summaries on the screen and let your voice fill in the details.
But maybe the most important part of how you write the script is to write it in your own voice. Well, what does that mean? Let's dive into that a little more. Your script is vital to a successful presentation, but you want to make sure when you're talking out loud that it sounds like you're having a conversation, not reading an instruction manual. So here are 4 things you should do when you're writing the scripts to help it sound like you. First, forget the rules of grammar for writing if you don't follow them when you're speaking. For example, we all know we're not supposed to end a sentence with a preposition, right? But if you don't follow that rule when you speak and you do follow it when you write your script might just not sound like you. So use the grammar you speak with. See, that ended with a preposition. Did you even notice?
Second, write like you talk. Beyond throwing out grammar rules that you don't follow in your speaking style, also stick to your natural vocabulary. Use the words you speak with. Verbiage that the general population is unlikely to utilize in the course of their daily activities will, in all likelihood, convey a feeling of impersonality when spoken out loud. See what I mean? No one is going to read or grade your script. They just want to hear what you have to say. So write it like you would say it.
Third, write a backstage draft. When you're ready to script your presentation or a given slide, there's a lot of value in the stream of consciousness approach. Don't stop to edit along the way. Just get it all down and then go back and revisit. Writing it all at once will make it sound more like how you speak and less like how you write a research paper. After you've got it all down, focus your edits on sounding like someone you'd want to listen to, not someone who's trying to get a book published.
And fourth, be 80% prepared. Knowing your script is not the same as memorizing your script. You should know it well enough that you're clear on what direction you're headed at every transition, and your rehearsal should focus on making those mental connections and on knowing what point you're wanting to make at each step along the way. But if you memorize it completely, you lose the freedom to ad-lib here or there without losing your place, and it'll end up sounding more robotic. So rehearse to know your script, not to memorize it.
Audience engagement is another key to making your presentation impactful. When you focus on engaging your audience, you help ensure that the message lands and is memorable.
Engaged listeners are more likely to take action, whether that's applying new knowledge or being inspired to take the next steps in their learning. Engagement also allows your audience to connect with the topic. Strategies like humor, storytelling, or relatable examples can help create that connection.
And lastly, engaging moments make your presentation more dynamic, and they can appeal to a variety of learning styles. And that just keeps everything more interesting for everyone.
One way to ensure audience engagement is to preview any planned engagement opportunities at the beginning of your presentation. If your audience knows how and when you'll be expecting them to participate, they are more likely to practice active listening and engage with the content of your presentation.
Audience engagement takes time, so you'll want to plan ahead. Identify how you'll engage with your audience, when it makes sense to incorporate moments of engagement, and how long you'll spend on each item. Make engagement a priority and allow it to inform the rest of your presentation.
It's really important to tell the audience when you're about to ask for their participation. Verbalizing those expectations aloud encourages your audience to listen intently, and it gives them time to build up the courage to join in. If you're going to embed a knowledge check, let your listeners know what they'll be expected to recall. Or if you plan to ask the audience to share a word or phrase that stuck out after you showed them a video clip, Let them know before the video so that they're watching with a purpose.
And finally, let the audience know the presentation materials like the deck or any slide notes will be available to them later, so they can fully engage rather than scramble to take notes. Now that we've covered audience engagement, it's time to refine your presentation. So in this section, we'll focus on the final steps: rehearsal, feedback, and polishing your delivery.
Rehearsing is about more than just running through your lines. It's a chance to fine-tune every part of your presentation before the real thing. So here are a couple of things to focus on. First, flow. Make sure the order of your content feels smooth and logical. Practice aloud and pay attention to any spots where you stumble or lose your place. If something feels awkward to say, it's worth revising. You want the delivery to feel natural and confident. If you're working in a group, make sure everyone knows who is speaking next and that whoever is running the slides is aware of the cue of when to go to the next slide or do the next animation. There's nothing worse than a presentation where the speaker says, "Next slide, please," after every single slide. Make sure those cues are in your script.
Next thing is timing. Use a timer to run through your full presentation. Are you staying within the time limit? If you're rushing or going over, tweak your content or pacing to fit the window you're working within.
Practice in front of a friend, a group member, or even record yourself. Fresh eyes and ears can point out what's confusing or unclear or just needs more energy. And be open to constructive suggestions. It only makes your presentation stronger.
And make sure that you're testing the technology that you're going to be using. So whether you're presenting in person or online, double check everything. Slides, videos, links, sound, internet connection, clickers, anything that could go wrong. The goal is to catch issues early so that your focus can stay on delivery, not troubleshooting. If you have the time, you should try to rehearse multiple times, especially if working in a group. This practice helps in refining transitions between speakers, ensuring timing aligns with any constraints, and building group chemistry. Practicing as a group is essential, but it can be more difficult than practicing alone. More opinions come into the mix, and you have to make sure that everybody is aligned on the style and tone so that your presentation is cohesive. Rehearsing as a group is where a good presentation becomes a great one. So here are a few extra things to focus on during group practice. First is asking for feedback and then actually being willing to accept it. This is key. Don't just go through the motions, really listen to each other. If something isn't clear or one part drags, speak up and be open when someone suggests changes to your section. It's about making the whole team look strong. Check for typos, mistakes, old data. Practice is the perfect time to catch any of these things that might slip through the cracks. And it's great in a group because you've looked at your slides a bunch of times, but your team members might not have. So it's a great time to double check for spelling errors, formatting issues, and outdated information. Look for fresh ideas and perspectives during this time as well. Sometimes a teammate will hear your part and offer a way to make it more interesting or engaging. Be open to trying new things, whether it's rewording a sentence or adding a more dynamic example or visual. And along with kind of that technology tip, make sure that you're actually in presentation mode, using the actual tools that you are going to be presenting with. So if you're presenting virtually, rehearse that screen sharing. If it's in person, test the projector and the transitions. All of these things will help you feel confident and ensure a smooth experience for your audience. Practicing together doesn't just polish your presentation, it builds your team chemistry, and that confidence shows on stage.
Let's talk about something we've all experienced from time to time: presentation nerves. It's totally normal to feel a little anxious before you present. It's even healthy, whether it's solo or with a group. When you're nervous, though, your body releases adrenaline, which leads to a few familiar symptoms, like a faster heart rate or shorter and quicker breaths. And most importantly for us today, a tendency to rush just to get through it and get it over with. One of the biggest things to watch for is your speaking speed. Most people talk about 20 to 30% faster than normal when they're nervous without even realizing it. The problem is, when you speak too quickly, your audience can't keep up, and the most important points can get lost.
Now, feeling rushed when you present is totally normal, but you can train yourself to slow down and speak with more control and clarity. Here's how. Script and time yourself. Start by writing out just 1 minute of your script, which is around 135 to 150 words, and that's kind of the sweet spot for clear conversational delivery. Read it aloud while timing yourself and adjust if you're going too fast or too slow. The goal is to match your delivery to that natural pace. It helps your audience follow along and keeps you from racing through your content.
You can also practice your breath cues. Try taking a breath every 2 to 3 sentences. Mark your script or speaker notes with slashes or whatever symbol you like to remind yourself where to pause. Use those breaks to reset and refocus. They slow you down naturally, and your brain catches up to your mouth during those pauses, which makes your delivery more clear and confident.
Consider breaking your script into chunks of meaning, small groups of words that go together. Pause between those chunks and emphasize a key word in each one. It adds rhythm, keeps your audience engaged, and makes your message stick. Here's an example. Today, we're talking about a major shift in how students engage with learning. These strategies feel a little awkward at first, but once you practice them, your delivery will sound more polished, more professional, and a lot more powerful.
You can also leverage speaker coach technology to help you analyze your public speaking. For example, Microsoft PowerPoint has a speaker coach built right in. If you have PowerPoint, you can find this tool under the slideshow tab at the top and on the button that says Rehearse with Coach. And what you'll find there is an analysis of your speech. That's going to be your timing, pace, pitch, fillers, pronunciation, and tons more. It will also give you suggestions for things to pay more attention to. So for example, in this feedback in the screenshot here, the speaker did well on filler words, sensitive phrases, and repetitive language, but could improve on the pronunciation of a few words. So using this tool can be a great way to optimize your rehearsal time, especially if you aren't working in a group, if you were unable to pull together a test audience to practice in front of, or maybe you just feel more comfortable practicing alone. By getting this feedback to improve your regular speech, your scripting and presenting will gradually be improved as well.
If you don't have PowerPoint, don't worry. There's plenty of other tools out there. Apps like Speako, Umo, and Ori use AI technology to analyze your speech. Each offers insights into pacing, clarity, and delivery, helping you build stronger presentation skills over time.
All right, you've rehearsed, you've revised, and you're almost ready. But before you call it done, take time for a final polish. This last step is all about tightening up the details that leave a lasting impression. Proofread everything. Go through your slides, your scripts, and your notes carefully. Look for spelling errors, grammar issues, and any formatting inconsistencies. Even small mistakes can distract from your message.
Make your transitions smooth. In a group, practice how you'll hand off between speakers. Use phrases like, now I'll pass it to, or building on that point, to keep things flowing naturally.
Review your citations and references. Make sure all your sources are cited properly. Whether it's a quote, a statistic, or just an image, give credit where it's due. This boosts your credibility and avoids plagiarism.
Plan for the Q&A. Anticipate questions your audience might ask and prepare your answers. If you're presenting in a group, decide who on the team will handle which type of questions so you're not caught off guard.
And last, but certainly not least, make sure that you're submitting the materials on time. Double check your deadlines and make sure everything is turned in. Slides, handouts, any required files. Late submissions can impact your grade or even your audience's experience. And this is especially important in a group. Do you all need to submit a copy of everything or just one person? And if it is just one person, make sure that everybody knows who that person is, especially that person, so this important final piece doesn't slip through the cracks. This one last round of fine-tuning can make the difference between a good presentation and a great one. So take the time to finish strong. So with that, we will open the floor to any questions that you might have in the audience.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that presentation, guys. Before we do get to the questions, I did see a couple come in. I do want to highlight, please follow us on our socials. That way, any of our upcoming webinars, you'll have access to that information. You'll be able to see what we're going to be covering next and when that might be happening. Additionally, we do have in our YouTube channel, if you just go to tutor.com/YouTube webinars, you'll be able to see all of our previous webinars. So again, if you want to catch any of our other student success topics, you'll be able to find those there. Um, and then the last thing, I did see a question coming in. This has been recorded, so you will be getting a recording of the webinar in the next couple of days alongside a PDF version of this PowerPoint, so you'll have all this information available to you as well. Now, as for the questions, I did see some coming in talking about, topics related to teamwork and collaboration. I did want to highlight we do have a whole webinar talking about teamwork and collaboration on our YouTube channel, so you can go in there for a bit more information. But people were asking, kind of, what should you do if a classmate isn't pulling their weight on the presentation or the project that you're all working together on?
That's a great question, and it's really difficult to navigate. I would say really setting expectations and a timeline and deadlines early on is going to be the number one preventative thing that you can do. But of course, it's still going to happen. There's still going to be a team member that's not pulling their weight. And there's to be honest, there's only so much you can do with a person like that. I think it's really important to just continue to communicate amongst your group, communicate expectations, communicate what you're doing, and when you're getting it done. Sometimes people just need a little bit of a reminder of what they also need to complete. But sometimes you're just going to have someone that isn't going to do it. And so communicating with the rest of your group and making sure that none of that person's details are going to slip through the cracks. It's unfortunate, but group communication, expectation sometimes is all that you can do. And sometimes you'll still run into that person. And, you can share that information if there's a, group evaluation or anything after your presentation. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. It doesn't look like there are any other questions coming into the Q&A. I'll leave the floor open for just about another minute or so in case questions do come in. But again, thank you so much for joining today. And again, please follow us on our socials to find out more about our other upcoming webinars. Um, all right, there was a question coming in saying that it has to do more with citing sources, especially using speaker notes. Can you explain on those? So, I think maybe they're talking, oh yeah, basically how you can deal with citation using speaker notes, I guess. Yeah, exactly. So, basically, how can you get across the sites that you're or citations that you're using in your own, I guess, kind of script that you're working on, how you can get that information across.
Yeah, I don't think I would recommend saying out loud where you got information. And if this presentation is in support of a paper that you're submitting, then it may be fine for the paper to have the citations in the typical format that you've been asked to do it. But on your slides, you can also put little notices at the bottom of the slide, especially if you got a piece of information from a website, you can put that URL at the bottom of your slide. You can refer to it in passing, like I Googled this and found really quick in your speaking, but you're not required to say it out loud the way you would in a written paper. You just need to make sure it's covered somewhere.
Yeah, I think if you're like directly quoting someone, you can say Henry Price said blah 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 blah, and like that's a great way to do it. But yeah, I think exactly what Henry said, and then maybe putting a slide at the end as well, like a references slide at the very end that is more in that traditional formal citation format as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't look like there are any other questions coming in. So again, thank you everybody for joining us today. We hope you ha found some of this information helpful and maybe you're able to apply it to some of your upcoming presentations. But again, keep an eye out for our upcoming webinars, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.